world. I am so excited for today because we're going to discuss the heart of the matter for me, which is the science and spirituality coming together. What if we knew through science, through all of it, that we have the power of mind to change dis-ease, to change our genetic expression? How do we do that? And today we're going to dive deep into the science, the epigenetics of spirituality, the power of who you are and your ability to create supernatural superpowers, super generation of everything in our entire genetic codes. So I'm so excited today. I'm Dr. Erin. I'm Dr. Divinity. I teach New Thought movement and I teach the metaphysics, and I connect science and the mind together for one thing, which is the expression of you, the highest expression of your life and who you are. So let's break this on down. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, you guys. I'm so excited. We're across all platforms. We're across all social media. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We are on Roku, Apple TV, iOS, all over globally, because we are one family and we do this every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to come together to know the truth and to live our best life. So today we're going to break on down what is epigenetics. So I have to start with a personal story, you guys. I know you guys know, a lot of you know I had a stillborn full term at 22 years old. Well, I got pregnant a month of the day later with my son, who now is 24 years old. And when he was born, we went on a trip when he was about almost a year old. And we went down, I was living in Park City, Utah at the point in time, and we went down on a camping trip down to southern Utah. And we were coming back, we were in a truck and trailer, and we were going 60 miles per hour on the freeway, and my husband at the time lost control and we rolled the truck and trailer at 60 miles per hour. Needless to say, the entire trailer was in a zillion pieces. It was the scariest moment of my life. Again, it was like the scariest 20 seconds of my life. I thought my son's gonna die right next to me in this rollover. Luckily, he was not hurt. Luckily, my husband at the time was not hurt, but I was hurt. And I herniated my back really bad. I had to go in for, of course, MRI and everything. I could not walk for about 2 weeks at a time. And over the course of doing my spiritual work over the next, amount, they're like, basically, you can't do anything. We could go in and do, operation, but it's not really going to do much at this point in time. And I was kind of anti-surgery. But I went and I basically started doing breath work. I would hold my knees up at night and elongate my spine, and I would just start to do breath work over and over again. And I began to have, it got gradually a little bit better, but it's still, I would go out again and I would be out. I would be on my back for 2 weeks at a time, completely laid out. So years later, as I began to dive deeper and deeper and deeper into my spiritual work, I began to do my emotional trauma work from this lifetime and past lifetimes. And what happened was basically the pain completely went away. My back was completely healed. And from a spiritual perspective, we know that this is possible. From a medical perspective, they don't believe, a lot of medical professions do not believe that it's possible to heal thyself, right? And we need to disclose that this is not a cure, that you need to go see your doctor, because legally I cannot say it's a cure. But for me, my back is cured. My back is cured and I have no pain in my entire body whatsoever. So the point is what happened? What happened? What's possible in this? So, as you begin to dive into what's possible and even science, and I work with, of course, clients across the world, and we do emotional trauma work in this lifetime and past lifetimes, which is basically the epigenetics of what science is saying, that the memory of all lifetimes lives in us, and the memory of every, emotional trauma, physical trauma, everything, of course, lives in us. So let's break on down what is epigenetics and why is epigenetics so important to this? Because there is the concept that there's genes, and we know that genes can't be like, we can't get better genes or worse genes or all that kind of stuff. There's genes, and each gene, we all have genes in each cell. We have trillions and trillions of cells. I have no idea, something like 50 trillion cells or something like that. And in each cell, there is a huge DNA, supposedly as tall as you or bigger, if you put it out linearly, okay? But in those genes, what happens is they are expressed or not expressed depending on different aspects. And we're calling it epigenetics, of how we actually measure our genes, right? So what happens is there are these things called DNA, of course, cells, DNA, and then there's called chromatin, and that's basically histones plus your DNA. And what happens is basically in order to deal with all this DNA. It's imagine all the information you can ever imagine, the entire universe of information. How do they deal? How they condense it into this tiny little cell that you have trillions of? Well, it's basically wrapped around. So it's histones plus your DNA is your chromatin, and chromatin basically is your genes are basically turned on or turned off basically by how tight they're wound or how loose they are, or they can be turned on or off by switches, and that's basically called methyl groups that turn them on, turn them off, and there's basically histones that basically wind up or unwind your DNA to be able to turn it on, express it, or not express it, okay? So what does this mean exactly from a spiritual perspective? This means that we get to upregulate or downregulate what's going on in our body contingent upon certain things. And they recognize that what makes them turn, tighter or looser in the histones? Well, stress and your environment and things like that. So we know that when you are in your mother's womb, there's all kinds of things that happen in the epigenetics you begin to have like your kind of set epigenetics, if you will. So we want to realize that if whatever can be turned off or can be turned on that's bad, the opposite is true. If it's possible to, basically squeeze your DNA so tight that it can't even be expressed, the possibility is to be able to unsqueeze it, what do we call it? Deregulation or decompounding, okay? Decompressing rather, okay? So how do we do this? And we are beginning to dive more and more into this, and there's actually been more and more scientific studies around what's possible. So for me, when I was in that car accident going 60 miles per hour, and I herniated my discs in my back, and I couldn't walk for 2 weeks at a time, what happened over the course of the years of doing breath work, of doing my subconscious emotional trauma work, of doing all that made it so I have zero pain in my back whatsoever today. No pain whatsoever, okay? What happened, right? So we have to recognize that as, that what happens in stress, okay? Stress can be internal stress and there can be external stress. Stress within always begins with one thing, which is your mind, right? So basically you have when you place a positive meaning on something or a negative meaning on something, you instantaneously have a positive or negative experience. So the more you resist to things, then the more stress it causes. The more you're resistant to what is in the world, the more you basically get more stress in your body, okay? Obviously, environmental things cause stress as well. The food that we're eating, the environment that we're in, things like that. But consciously, we choose to put ourselves in particular environments or not. So the reality is it all comes down to the mind, okay? So we have to understand, and Joe Dispenza, of course, teaches a lot of this as well. I love Joe Dispenza. He's in alignment with work along with Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief, and things like that. One of my favorite all-time quotes of Joe Dispenza is this, is a memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. You guys get that? I want you to really get this quote, okay? It is the basis of all of the work that I do in trauma work in the E4 trauma method. A memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. Okay, we know through epigenetics that all memory of all lifetimes, whether you want to say it's your lifetime or your parents' lifetime, it doesn't matter, it lives in you. Every fear, everything. Why are we, like I always say, why are we afraid of snakes when we have never even been bit by a snake in this lifetime? There is memory, and there's memory to help us survive, right? So there's good memory and there's bad memory, right? So we want to understand, what is this exactly? What is it that we're trying to do here with epigenetics? And so we understand the biology of belief. What is the biology of belief? And we want to break this down because it goes like this. Imagine, again, I use the computer analogy a lot. So our genes are like our hardware of our body, okay? You have X genes, you can't change your genes, okay? Your epigenetics is your like programming. But who's the programmer? You are, okay? It's just like a computer. You can have great hardware, you can have great software or not great software, but who programs that software in? Ultimately, the programmer. You're the programmer. The spiritual being is the programmer. That's who you are, and that's why you have the ability to actually control your expression of your own genes. Like, that's your superpower. That's the ultimate healer. That is the eternal wisdom of that eternal doctor within. That's why I'm called the doctor of divinity, because we heal through revealing the truth, right? That's the ultimate thing. Truth will set us free. Truth heals. And in that, we recognize that doctors are amazing. There's a time and a place for doctors. If you break your arm, I don't want to necessarily go to a spiritualist. It's possible to put your arm back in place, as Jesus said. I'd rather go to a traditional doctor. They're great. They've got great ability to put that arm back, that bone back together, put a cast on it, deal with it. They have great ability to do surgery, things like that. But when it comes to actually long-term healing, I'm a believer in mind. I'm a believer in knowing that we recognize that even cancer now, they've proven that through epigenetics that there's certain things that turn on and off the different expressions of genes to cause cancer. And now doctors are trying to they're creating medications to suppress those certain genes. Well, why don't we just deal with the actual, instead of putting a Band-Aid on it, why don't we actually deal with what's going on, which is a cultural, spiritual dis-ease. And we need to understand the power of mind, the stress within, and the stress without. So how do we do that? So let's get down to what we do with that. And we recognize also that this is, that basically that our environment, we have to recognize that the mothers, the parents that are birthing children, this is the most important time, you guys. If you're out there and you recognize your children, when they live in you, they're being born, they're birthing, they're growing, all stuff. We're impressing their epigenetics exponentially while they're in vitro. So know that if you're married and you're fighting with your husband, don't be surprised when the autism comes about, okay? Don't be surprised when this disease comes about, because what happens is it is the stress with in vitro that is so imperative that happens, and people need to recognize they're responsible. I'm responsible. Guess what? The genes, we have to change our diets and things. We have to change all this to recognize that we have the ability. We have the ability to heal thyself. That is our true ability, okay? So I recognize right here that even smoking in the past, before you even are pregnant, can impact our children. Things like that. Everything we do, and we recognize that it's all we have to take responsibility for our future generations, that what I do today impacts the future generation. And that is the power that I have. That's the power that you have, okay? So going on down to this, what the truth is today is that you are the superpower force. You are the superpower. You have the ability to have the greater impact than any medication can on you. You have that ability. That is the power of mind, okay? So Joe Dispenza says in his book, Becoming Supernatural, he says, in the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and You Are the Placebo. Those are his books that he put out, okay? The reality is this, is that what do we have the potential of? We don't only have the potential to influence our genes, we have the potential to influence our personality. We have the influence to influence every single person around us, every single thought, every single thing. It goes like this: beliefs, your beliefs, what you truly believe, what you be and live, your perception, if you will, creates your thoughts, which create your feelings, which create your emotions, which creates the circumstances of your life. So anything that's going on in life, you have to take 1,000% responsibility for, because I promise you, even now, even in these times, even when there's financial crisis or pandemics or whatever's going on, it is in the eye of the beholder. There is a perception that's going on, okay? That doesn't mean that it's the power of mind that can overcome the coronavirus, because it can. But maybe someone's consciousness is not that powerful, okay? It doesn't mean they're better or worse than. It's that, what do we do? What do we do to become what can we do, okay? So let's do this. Let's get to the call to action. So what can we do? What can we do to become the best version of ourselves, to overcome as much disease as possible? What do we come to become the best version of ourselves? What do we do to overcome heartbreak or trauma or, all kinds of disease and actual, harm in the body? This is the call to action. The call to action is this: to connect the brain and heart cohesion, right? How do we do that? How do we become one with the higher self and the lower self? You can call it heart and brain cohesion, or you can call it whatever you want. The truth is this, is that that it all comes down to energy, and we are masters of energy. We're here to experience how we create and form through universal law. Okay, so what do we do? Well, I'm trained as a metaphysician, as a doctor of divinity, and I came up with the process called E4 trauma method. And what that is basically we want to do our emotional trauma work from this lifetime and past lifetimes. And the reason why it's so imperative is because all that emotional charge that's sitting in your body, it is harming your epigenetics. It is suppressing your genetics from free flowing, from connecting and doing miracles within your body. So it's imperative. The science of spirituality and the epigenetics of spirituality is that spirituality means it's the reality that everything is from spirit, okay? So we want to break on down and recognize that anywhere that you feel like you're the effect of something, any past traumatic incident, anything going on from the past, we want to complete that and not have the charge on it. Like Joe Dispenza said, a memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. Okay, we should have everything in our past, whether you were date raped like I was, whether you've gone through traumas, whether you've gone through car accidents, whether you've gone through war zone, whether you've been sexually abused or beaten, whatever that is. We want to be able to have that be something in our past that actually is the intelligence that brings us forth into the wisdom of bringing wisdom into the world, the creating harmony in the world and everything. If it is in our past and it's harming us and it's just causing us stress, then we still have charge on that memory. So all memory is done through mental pictures. So we pull up the mental picture and we basically do the E4 trauma method has 4 aspects to it. One is experience. That means re-experiencing it as if it's happened right now. We don't want to think of it as the past. In the spiritual world, there is no time and space. We want to go back there. We want to go back and re-experience it, okay? The second E is evaluation, meaning we don't want any evaluation. We don't want any past story. We don't want any evaluation, because trauma and stress from an emotional traumatic experience happens and is created in consciousness at all points in time. And how it's recreated is by the meaning that we put around it and the story that we put around it. So we want to fully re-experience that emotional trauma experience without evaluating, without putting any backstory to it, okay? And then the third part is emotions. You want to feel the emotions fully, express the emotions fully, and not have resistance to the emotions, because physics, whatever we resist persists, right? So we want to fully experience those emotions and let those emotions teach us the wisdom of those emotions and let them flow out of the body through crying, upset, whatever it is. And we go over this over and over and over again till it neutralizes the emotions. And then step 4 is enlightenment, which means what did you learn from this? What did you decide in that emotional traumatic incident that was a lie that impinged that emotional trauma on your track? An emotional command that happens. What was that? Looking at that enlightenment around that. I decided I wasn't enough. I decided I'd never love again. I decided that life isn't fair. I decided X, Y, and Z, right? So we want to recognize right here and right now that there is emotional trauma that is holding and impinging and suppressing your own DNA. It's strangling your DNA. It is your job to release that emotion, unleash that stress, because we know that stress causes your epigenetics to suppress and turn on or off, good or bad epigenetics of DNA, right? It turns on and turns off certain things. We want to realize, yes, that there is that charisma that is unleashed in this. You can call it the Christ consciousness, you can call it the Buddhist consciousness, you can call it whatever you want, but it is that flow of that superpower that you are, and it's being suppressed by the lies that are holding you down at a genetic actual aspect of who you are. And what else can we do, right? We want to do all of our emotional trauma work. We want to do meditation so that we can begin to merge the right and left hemisphere of the brain and begin to see our oneness, begin to connect the neurons so there's not as much stress of trying to figure things out in the body. You know, there's 50 trillion cells or something like that in you. And this is an organism. You're an organism within yourself. You have to have a community. You have a community, an infinite community within you that you've got to have in sync. The heart, the mind, the mind, the heart. You've got to have every cell, every organism communicating and collaborating and being one altogether and allowing the DNA to say and know when it's got to turn on and turn off. It's having misfiring, just like your computer. It's misfiring. It's got a virus in it. It's got too much cache, too much memory, too much everything. You got to pull up those tabs on your computer, complete that emotional trauma, shut it down, reboot, do all that. That this is your job, to know thyself, to heal thyself, to know that there is a science of your body and you are that scientist. You are that genealogist. You are the master of your fate. I know this. I live this. I love this. We speak this. We do this together. And so right now, let's know some truth together. We're going to get into universal law of the day. So the universal law today is the universal law of pure potential. And this is, there's only one universal law, okay? The universal law is cause and effect. The cause of everything in life is your consciousness. It's consciousness, and your consciousness is just not your individual consciousness. It is the individual consciousness, the collective consciousness, and the cosmic consciousness. You are all of it. You are not divided. You are divine, okay? So the truth of the universe and the truth of your genetics is that the mathematical equations of how you can put the communication together with the DNA in the body is infinite, okay? We can create miracles. That is what Christ was teaching. Christ was not saying, revere me as God. He was saying, this is what you can do, and I'm trying to teach you what you can do, okay? Whether you believe in Christ or not, it doesn't matter. I don't care. You can believe in science. You can believe in whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is you have this temple that is incredible of what it can do, okay? So the law of pure potential states this. At the core, and so again, the law of cause and effect, there's only one law of the universe, but there's like 52 distinctions I teach around describing and understanding this, okay? So the law of pure potential states that at a core of you is infinite consciousness, the connection between your individual consciousness and your cosmic consciousness. There is an unending divine source within you. All energy is pure potential until it is observed and unformed, okay? Same with the energy to untap within your body. It is how you perceive life that is going to get you stressed or not stressed and basically condense your epigenetics or not, okay? So basically, there is an unending divine source within all energy is pure potential until it's observed and informed. Your beliefs, what you be and live, your beliefs set in the limitation of demonstration of this principle, which of itself is without limit. It is ready to fulfill everything, every single thing. And we've known this over and over again. We see this through scientific studies, through meditation examples of people going into these states and releasing their trauma, releasing the charge on the memory, releasing all this and creating miracles. They heal. I've witnessed it. I've seen people grow back their hair. I've seen people, all their pains go away. I've seen men with dysfunction, erectile dysfunction that have come for me to help literally change everything because they've got to clean up their track. They've got to clean up their ethics. They've got to clean up their energetic ties to everything. Yes, it affects every last drop of our life, okay? This is the truth, is that your soul desires for you to have everything. The world, the universe wants everything for you. It's just saying receive. It's to the extent that you're able to receive the truth of who you are, releasing all stress, knowing that everything's working for you and not against you. Recognizing and see how if something didn't work out in a relationship, it's a blessing. Because it wasn't right. It wasn't in alignment. Seeing how scarcity at sometimes, the hard things you're going through are some of the biggest blessings of your life. Which brings me to today's call-in question, if you will, which is, someone asked, I have anxiety and I feel like I'm coming out of my skin. What can I do to end these feelings? Okay, so oftentimes Anxiety will say, oh, well, it's just because you're living in the past or future. That's a bunch of crap, really, in that you've got to break it down more than that. Actually, it's happening right here and right now. There's no such thing as the future or past, and you can't just overcome some, emotional trauma just logically. You've got to go down to the subconscious mind, and you've got to deal with this. So how do you deal with feeling overwhelmed or coming out of your skin like so many people on the planet feel? You've got to begin to do your inner trauma work. Inner trauma work is probably the most important thing. For me, after doing, I did like 20, I've been meditating for 20, I'm sorry, how many years? My son's 24. I was 2 years before that. So 22 years I've been meditating. It's been amazing. But I'm telling you that doing the emotional trauma work has had me have the biggest quantum leap in my ability to let go of anxiety, to be completely at peace in my own skin. To do these things, there is work to be done. It's not like take a pill and get over it, get present, take a breath and get No, it is not something to do that is, hi you guys, I'm sending so much love out there. I see so many people out there that I love. It is not a little band-aid to put on anxiety. This is the genetic code that oftentimes when I'm working with people that are dealing with a lot of anxiety, it actually doesn't even have to do with this lifetime. It has to do with their ancestors that live and breathe as them in their own DNA, that there is trauma that's been on the track. And I know so many stories dealing with so many people and they're understanding their heritage. Their parents may have been, slaughtered. They may have been in the concentration camps. You may have been, gone through all kinds of genocides across. You've gone through famine. You've gone through all kinds of things. It lives in your DNA, okay? So we have to know that your anxiety is not your anxiety, like something's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with you. In fact, something's so right with you that you have the memory that is trying to have you have the wisdom of all lifetimes. It is our job to go back and take the charge off of all those memories so that you can free up and actually have that wisdom. And so I recognize for this person out there that's dealing with anxiety, that's dealing with wanting to come out of their skin, that they are born, if they do their work, they're born to be one of the greatest spiritual leaders because they will have the wisdom of all that emotional trauma that comes with so many blessings. It comes with wisdom. It comes with desire to make a difference in the world. It comes with every last drop of that. And so I recognize that science and spirituality, when we come together, we can understand how we are the creator, how we create the reality, how we have the potential to not only heal our DNA, heal our ancestors, but make a huge difference on this planet. And so on that note, let's know the truth together, you guys. I'm just knowing a great day for all of us. I recognize this beautiful day, a divine day of knowing the truth of science, and all of it comes together. So I'm just going to come here real quick, and we come together in taking a deep breath in through the nose. I bring the hands together, the 72,000 nerve endings. We connect the right and left brain. We connect the higher and lower self. We connect the brain and the heart, and we connect the oneness to us and everyone out there. I recognize today is a beautiful day to know the truth, that we have the ability to change the expression of our own genes. We have the ability to create our new thinking. We have the ability to heal our entire ancestors and all the future generations. We have the ability to clean our environment and have less and less stress so that we can experience our oneness, our power, our allness. I recognize today is the day of awakening to all communities come together globally, together in all mind, together in all heart, together as one mind, one life. I recognize right here and now that I am that, you are that, the I am factor, that you are not your DNA, that you are not this body, that you are not your genes. You are a divine spiritual being that is the I am factor, that is all of it. This is your karma, all of life, and it is our responsibility, it's my responsibility, it's your responsibility to be the change that you want to see in the world in all aspects. And I recognize wherever it is that you desire, whatever you love to do, whether it be science or spirituality or technology or food or whatever, go there. Help us find a way to heal thyself, to come together in harmony for the world. I say yes to building spiritual leaders and all the masters around the world, as together we say, and so it is. Okay, you guys, amazing. If this is your first time on this show, on this call, on the stream, whatever you want to call it, I'm Dr. Erin. I'm a doctor of divinity. I come here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. to know the truth with you guys, to teach spirituality, science of mind, metaphysics, understanding universal law, and all the above. Yes, please like, share, and comment. It's super important. You can get notifications because it's important to pray and know the truth together. We're one mind, and when we connect through it, it's more powerful, okay? Also, we do have programs, of course. I have Soul Society, which is we're committed to being the #1 spiritual leaders community in the world, which means that you don't have to want to be a spiritual teacher or a coach. We do that as well. We certify people in that. But you can simply want to bring spiritual principles into your home, into your business, into all the above. We do have a leadership program that is because of the situation in the world. I recognize it is so important to get truth out. It is so important to teach. Right now, we have extra special things going on. You can check out in my link. There's also a free community, and in the free community you get my free book, Awakening, a 40-day guide. You also get 40 guided meditations, and you get a community. So you have multiple different soul circles throughout the week with ambassadors. You can get on Zoom calls for the hour, get breakthroughs, transformation, and begin to do your inner healing. Okay, you guys, I love you and have a beautiful day. And I just know that today is a day to awaken to the greatest version of yourself. I love you guys. Have a great day.